welcome. If you are watching and listening now, it means you have chosen to give yourself a pause, a moment entirely your own, away from the noise of the day. This is Opulent Dreams, a place where time slows down, where stories flow gently, and where sleep arrives without being called. Tonight, I have the privilege of guiding you slowly towards rest. There is nothing you need to do. Simply listen and let go. If you wish, you can support this journey with a small gesture by following the channel, liking this video, and leaving a comment telling us where you are watching from tonight. A quiet way of being present together, even from afar. For now, though, this time is yours. Lower the lights. Settle into a comfortable position. Allow your body to find its own balance. Soften your breathing. There is no need to control it. Just allow it to slow down. The world can wait. Your worries can remain outside this night. I wish you a deep, elegant, natural rest. Let yourself be gently carried. And when you are ready, let the dream begin. The journey had been long, not exhausting, not frantic, but long enough to create within her a real distance from everything she had left behind. The plane had landed in the early afternoon, a soft arrival, almost silent, as if even the pilot had wanted to respect the nature of that journey. There were no phone calls waiting for her, no schedule to check, no urgency, only a private car, dark in colour and discreet in presence, waiting for her beyond the automatic doors. The driver inclined his head slightly in greeting. No superfluous words, just a measured gesture, elegant, timeless. Inside the car, the air was cool. It carried a faint scent of wood and citrus. The leather seats, smooth and perfectly taut, received the body without rigidity. She sat down slowly. The fabric of her travel dress, a heavy ivory-coloured silk, slid naturally along her legs. The shoes, soft, designed for comfort more than appearance, barely touched the thick carpeted floor. When the door closed, the outside world remained outside, not excluded, just distant. The car began to move. At first they crossed orderly, precise streets, clean architecture, glass facades reflecting the daylight. Then, slowly, something changed. The buildings grew lower, the distances wider. Traffic dissolved like a retreating tide. Even the sound of the city stopped following them. What remained was the steady motion of the vehicle, the landscape beginning to open. Time that, almost imperceptibly, was slowing down. She observed without searching for anything. She was not going towards a place. She was letting go of everything that was no longer needed. Her hands, resting in her lap, were relaxed. Her breathing had deepened without her realizing it. After about an hour, the road began to rise. Wide curves, perfect asphalt, no intrusive signage, only trees. Tall, dense, silent, light filtered through the branches, creating soft shadows in constant motion, a natural design that changed with every meter. The driver slowed down, not out of necessity, but out of respect for the place. Now they travelled slowly, as if the destination were not to be reached, but earned. She lowered the window slightly. The air entered gently. It smelled of damp earth, of bark, of leaves, a living scent, not constructed, not replicable. It was the first true sensation of the journey. She closed her eyes for a moment. She was not sleeping. She was listening. The distant sound of flowing water, the wind moving through the treetops, a natural sound, continuous, free of human rhythm. When she opened her eyes again, the road had become narrower. no less well kept, but more intimate, like a passage known only to those who knew where they were going. After one last curve, the car slowed again. Before them did not appear an imposing building, no scenic facade, no monumental entrance, only a low structure perfectly integrated into the landscape. Light wood, essential lines, large panes of glass reflecting the forest instead of dominating it. Luxury did not display itself, it was perceived in the precision of the joints, in the quality of the materials, in the way every element seemed to have existed forever, exactly there. The car stopped without any jolt. The door was opened with a slow gesture. She stepped out. The ground beneath her feet was not cold stone, but a slightly warm wooden surface, protected by a slender canopy. No noise, no formal welcome. Only a woman in contemporary traditional attire, with pure lines, waiting a few steps away. A light bow, a serene gaze. Between them, there was no need for words. The traveller understood in that instant that the real journey was beginning now. Not toward a place, but toward a condition. Beyond the threshold she was about to cross, time would no longer have the same shape. And she was ready to let it change. The entrance was not a door, it was a transition. A short corridor of light wood, open on one side to the garden, slowly accompanied the guest from the outside to the inside. There was no sharp separation, only a gradual change of light, of sound, of temperature. The traveller moved forward with steps that were instinctively slower. The floor, perfectly smoothed, returned beneath the soles of her feet a warm, natural sensation, not glossy, not reflective, alive. The air inside carried the scent of toasted rice and cedarwood, a subtle fragrance, almost imperceptible, and precisely for that reason, deeply relaxing. The woman who had welcomed her guided her unhurriedly toward a spacious, essential room. At the center, a low table. Around it, perfectly woven tatami surfaces, soft yet firm, muffling every step and every sound. The walls were sliding panels of natural paper, crossed by a milky light. No superfluous decoration, only what was needed to create space. Space to breathe, space to slow down, space to be present. The traveller was invited to sit. The gesture was simple, a movement of the hand, elegant and silent. She settled onto a low cushion. Her body immediately found a stable, supported position. In front of her, the preparation of the tea was about to begin. Not as a service, as a ritual. The woman knelt with fluid, measured movements. Each gesture had a precise timing. No haste, no accidental pause. She took the teapot. The ceramic was matte, ivory-colored, with slight, intentional imperfections, a sign of handcrafted work. She placed it on the table with a delicacy that almost seemed a form of respect. The hot water was poured slowly. Steam rose into the air in a thin spiral. The traveller watched it without distraction. That simple movement held something deeply hypnotic. The tea leaves, green and fragrant, were placed into the water, not thrown, set down. The aroma changed. It became rounder, more enveloping. Fresh grass, warm hay, a distant note of almond. The infusion time was not measured with a clock. It was perceived. When the woman lifted the teapot, it seemed she did so at the only possible moment. She poured the tea into a handleless cup. The porcelain was thin, warm, but not too hot. The cup was offered with both hands. The traveller received it in the same way. That gesture, simple and ancient, created an immediate connection with the present. There was nothing else to do, nothing to check, nothing to anticipate. only to hold that cup, only to feel the warmth slowly spreading through her fingers. Before drinking, she observed the liquid, pale green, slightly veiled, alive. The first sip was almost silent. The flavor was delicate, yet persistent, soft, clean. It did not stimulate, it calmed. The second sip came spontaneously. Her breathing grew even deeper. Her shoulders lowered without her deciding to do so. It was at that moment that she noticed the silence. It was not the absence of sound. It was balance. Somewhere, very far away, the sound of flowing water could be heard. A stream, probably. From time to time, the wood of the structure released a slight natural settling, a warm, reassuring sound. No other noise, no interference. The world outside had stopped pressing in. The woman poured a little more tea. Same gesture, same calm. Time, in that room, did not move in a straight line. It expanded. The traveller did not know how long she had remained there. 10 minutes, half an hour, perhaps more. It did not matter. When the cup was empty, it was not refilled again. The ritual was complete. The woman made a slight bow. Then she rose, with the same measured grace, and invited the guest to follow her toward her private residence. Now that the body was calm, now that the mind had slowed, it was time to truly enter the place that would welcome her for the days to come. The traveller stood up, and she realized that something within her had already changed. The path leading to the private villa was not perfectly straight. It moved among the trees, following the natural shape of the land, as if it had always existed. The stones, slightly irregular, had been placed one by one to accompany the step without guiding it. Walking there required no attention. The body found its own rhythm. Around her, the forest of Kyoto breathed slowly. Tall cedars filtered the afternoon light, transforming it into a golden, diffused glow without sharp shadows. The leaves barely moved. There was no real wind, only a very light passage of air. From time to time, the distant sound of a bird could be heard. Then, silence again. The traveller moved forward without haste, accompanied a few steps behind by the same discreet presence that had welcomed her. There were no directions, no signs. They were not needed. After a brief curve, the villa appeared. It did not emerge from the forest. It was part of it. The lines were low, horizontal, almost as if they did not want to interrupt the landscape. The exterior wood, left natural, had already taken on the soft tone of the surrounding trees. The roof, slightly inclined, seemed to float above the structure. Large glass panels reflected branches, sky, light. There was no contrast between architecture and nature, only continuity. The sliding door was opened with a slow gesture. Inside, the space was wide yet essential. The first impact was the light. It entered from every side, filtered through rice paper panels and large openings onto the private garden. A light that was never direct, always soft, always even. The light-colored wooden floor emanated a natural warmth, maintained by an invisible heating system that made every step comfortable even barefoot. The temperature was perfect, neither warm nor cool, simply balanced. At the center of the main room was a relaxation area with large cushions, covered in linen and raw silk in tones of sand and stone. Beside it, a low table of solid wood, crafted with a precision that left the natural grain visible. Nothing was glossy. Nothing was artificial. Every surface invited touch. On the opposite side, an entirely glass wall opened onto a small private garden. Soft mosses covered the ground. An ancient stone lantern was placed near a Japanese maple with slender leaves. An artificial stream, fed by a natural spring, flowed slowly, producing a continuous sound, barely perceptible. That sound filled the space without imposing itself. It was the villa's breath. The sleeping area was located beyond a sliding panel. The futon was already prepared, but not like a traditional bed. It was a composition of thin layers, perfectly aligned, covered in natural fabrics of the highest quality. Japanese cotton sheets, light and cool, a hand-quilted silk blanket, pillows with calibrated filling to support without rigidity. Every element spoke of silent comfort, not ostentatious, not decorative. Beside the bed, a wall niche held a single floral composition, a branch, 3 leaves, a pale flower. Nothing else, and precisely for that reason, perfect. The bathroom was hidden behind a sliding wooden wall. Inside, polished stone and dark wood created a harmonious contrast. The ofuro tub, deep and square, was made of hinoki, the Japanese cypress with a naturally relaxing fragrance. The water was already ready, still, clear. A light steam rose, spreading through the air the resinous aroma of warm wood. Thick towels, folded with precision, waited on a low stool. Beside them, natural body oils, contained in frosted glass bottles. Nothing was left to chance, yet nothing seemed prepared. It was as if the villa had always existed this way, ready to welcome anyone who knew how to slow down enough to truly enter it. The traveler remained still for a few moments at the center of the space, not to observe, to absorb. She felt the journey finally dissolve. She was no longer a visitor. She had become part of the rhythm of the forest. Outside, a leaf fell onto the water of the garden. The circle that formed widened slowly, then disappeared, and with it the last trace of haste. The afternoon slipped slowly toward evening without the traveller sensing the passage of time. The light changed gradually. It did not fade, it transformed. The gold of the day gave way to deeper tones, honey-coloured, then amber, then a soft orange that reflected off the wooden surfaces of the villa. Seated near the large glass wall, the traveller observed the private garden. The small stream continued its silent course. The leaves of the maple barely moved, as if they were breathing together with the earth. There was nothing to do, and precisely for that reason, everything felt complete. After a few minutes, she rose naturally and slid open the door that led to the bathroom. The space was wrapped in soft, indirect light. No visible lamps. The luminosity seemed to emerge from the walls themselves. The scent of hinoki was more intense now, warmed by the water already prepared in the ofuro tub. A warm, woody fragrance, lightly citrusy, capable of slowing the breath at first contact. Beside the tub, a small wooden stool and a traditional basin awaited for the purification ritual. One did not enter the water immediately. First, the body was prepared. The traveller sat down, slowly pouring lukewarm water over her arms, shoulders, hands. The gesture was simple, repetitive, almost meditative. Each movement had a natural rhythm. No haste, no prescribed sequence, only presence. The water slid over her skin, carrying away the fatigue of the journey, leaving a growing sensation of lightness. When she finally entered the ofuro, the warmth enveloped her evenly. It was not an aggressive heat. It was deep. The water reached her shoulders, supporting the body without weight. The wood of the tub, perfectly smoothed, conveyed an unexpected softness beneath her fingers. The scent of hinoki blended with the steam, creating an atmosphere that seemed to suspend time. In front of the tub, a large opening framed the forest. Not a window, a living picture. The sky was changing color, From the pale blue of day, it was sliding toward deeper tones, while among the branches the first shadows of evening began to appear. A bird slowly crossed the field of view, then disappeared among the trees. The traveller closed her eyes for a moment. She listened. The sound of the water, the breath of the forest, her own heartbeat slowing. Every remaining tension dissolved without effort. It was not simple relaxation. It was something deeper, as if the body were remembering something ancient, a natural way of stopping, of existing without having to do anything. The steam rose slowly, dissolving into the air. Outside, the light continued to dim. The shadows of the trees lengthened, merging with one another. The garden took on darker, velvety tones, while a stone lantern was discreetly lit by the staff, without their presence being perceived. A warm light appeared among the moss, small, steady, reassuring. The traveller opened her eyes again. The world seemed quieter than before. Or perhaps she was listening to it better. She remained immersed for a long time, letting the warmth penetrate her muscles, her shoulders, her back, completely dissolving every trace of the journey. When she stepped out of the water, the cool air on her skin created a gentle, pleasant contrast. She wrapped herself in a thick, soft towel, lightly scented with rice and linen. No dominant mirror, no distraction, only space, only stillness. Returning to the main room, she found the futon prepared for the evening. The light was now even softer. Outside, the forest was entering the night, and with it, the rhythm of the villa. The first evening asked for nothing. It simply invited her to slow down even more. Night arrived without ever really imposing itself. It was a slow, natural transition, like the breath that changes rhythm when the body prepares for rest. In the villa, the light had grown warmer. Rice paper lamps diffused a soft, even glow that cast no sharp shadows. Everything appeared gentle, welcoming, silent. From the garden rose a light scent of damp earth and leaves. The traveller sat on the tatami near the low table that had been prepared while she was in the ofuro. She had heard nothing, no sound, no perceived movement, only now the presence of dinner. The arrangement of the elements was precise, harmonious, almost architectural. Each dish seemed to have an exact space, a measured distance, a relationship with what surrounded it. It was not merely a meal, it was a rhythm. The first tray contained small seasonal preparations laid on ceramics differing in shape, colour, and texture. A maple leaf decorated a corner of the plate, as if it had just fallen. The aroma was delicate, never intrusive. The traveller slowly lifted one of the small bowls. The warmth was barely perceptible between her fingers. The surface of the ceramic was slightly irregular, made to be felt, not just seen. Each gesture became slower, not by choice, but as a natural consequence of the environment. Outside, the forest continued its nocturnal breathing, a distant sound of water, the almost imperceptible movement of wind among the branches. Nothing else. The second course arrived without breaking the silence. A sliding door opened just slightly, then closed with the same delicacy. The presence of the staff left no trace, as if they were part of the place itself. The dinner continued with a calibrated sequence of temperatures, textures, flavors. A clear broth, served in a lacquered bowl, released a warm, reassuring aroma. Steam rose slowly, dissolving into the soft light of the room. The traveller brought the bowl near her face even before tasting. She inhaled. That simple gesture seemed to contain the essence of the entire experience, not merely to nourish, to pause. Each course invited the same attention: small portions, perfect proportions, natural colors, never forced. Time was not measured. No clocks were visible. There was no urgency to finish. The dinner existed only in the present. Through the large opening to the garden, the night now revealed a deep sky, punctuated with sharp stars. The air seemed cooler. A lantern illuminated the stone path with a steady, almost motionless light. The traveller placed her hands on the table, feeling the smooth surface of the wood beneath her palms. She realized how completely relaxed her body had become. Light shoulders, deep breath, quiet mind. The final course was the simplest: a small bowl of warm rice, a light tea with a toasted fragrance, no decoration, only essentiality, and precisely for that reason, a sense of completeness. When dinner ended, the table was tidied with the same discretion with which it had been prepared. The room returned almost empty. Only the soft light, only the garden, only stillness. The traveller remained seated a few more minutes, doing nothing. She listened to the night. Then she rose slowly and slid the door open to the outside. The fresh air brushed her face. The sound of the stream seemed clearer now, as if the darkness made everything sharper. It was the moment when the place stopped being simply beautiful and became profoundly calming. Rest approached without being called. Night had fully arrived. Not a dark, closed night, but a living night, breathing, threaded with shades of deep blue and silver reflections filtering through the branches of the trees. The traveller stepped out onto the wooden veranda. The tatami behind her still held the warmth of the room. In front of her, the air was cool, thin, clear. She inhaled slowly. The scent of the forest had changed since the day. More humid, deeper, almost velvety. The moss held the evening's moisture. The leaves breathed in the dew. The earth gave off an ancient, steady, reassuring smell. No artificial sound, only nature. The stream continued its constant flow like a phrase repeated endlessly. Every now and then, the distant call of a nocturnal animal, a faint rustle among the bamboo, then silence again, a full silence. The stone lantern beside the path emitted a soft light, not strong enough to illuminate everything, but enough to suggest shapes. The shadows were not sharp. They dissolved into one another, creating a visual continuity that invited the gaze to slow down. The traveller took a few barefoot steps on the wooden veranda. The surface was smooth, warm, perfectly polished. Each step became conscious. There was no rush to go anywhere. The place did not ask for movement. It asked for presence. She sat down, hands resting on her knees, back straight, but effortless. In front of her, the forest seemed to expand endlessly. The tallest trees swayed slightly, moved by an almost imperceptible breeze. Their tops caught the moonlight, turning it into silver reflections that slid down the trunks. Time expanded. There were no minutes, there were no hours, only breaths, one after another. Far away, a bell from some hidden temple in the mountains tolled once, a deep sound, round, destined to fade slowly into the air. No other bell followed. That single toll seemed to mark the definitive passage from day to rest. The traveller closed her eyes for a moment, not from fatigue, to listen more closely. Her body was now fully attuned to the rhythm of the place. Her heart beat calmly and steadily. Her shoulders were light. Her breath sank deep, natural. When she opened her eyes again, the night seemed even clearer, as if her gaze had grown accustomed to a different, subtler light. She remained for a few more moments, then rose slowly and returned to the room. The sliding door closed without a sound. Inside, everything had been prepared. The futon had been laid out on the tatami with absolute precision. The fabric, pristine, slightly padded, appeared welcoming without excess. The blankets, carefully folded, formed soft, orderly lines. Beside it, a small lamp cast a warm light, similar to that of a candle. No direct illumination, only a faint glow designed to accompany sleep, not to delay it. The traveller approached slowly. The fibres of the tatami beneath her feet offered a dry, natural, familiar sensation. A contact that did not cool, did not slip, but supported. She sat on the futon. The mattress yielded just slightly, adapting to her weight without sinking. Everything was designed to support the body evenly, to let it rest fully. She removed the light robe, folding it calmly. Every gesture, even the simplest, seemed to have more space, more time. She lay down. The tatami beneath the futon maintained perfect stability. The blanket, soft but not heavy, enveloped her body naturally. She inhaled once more. Through the sliding walls came the breath of the forest. Not a precise sound, just a constant presence. The stream, the wind, the night. The lamp was turned off. The room remained bathed in a soft twilight, illuminated only by the moonlight filtering through the rice paper. Delicate lines, light shadows, no contrast. Her eyes closed effortlessly. The body did not need to seek sleep. Sleep was already there, like the forest, like the water, like the silence. And in the absolute stillness of the villa, hidden among the ancient trees, the night continued its slow flow, guarding rest with the same care with which it had welcomed her arrival. Dawn arrived without announcement. No sudden change, no harsh light, only a slow transformation of the darkness. The night began to lighten like a breath that lengthens. Black became blue. Blue turned pearly grey. The traveller did not wake abruptly. She opened her eyes naturally, as if her body had sensed the shifting light even before her mind. She remained lying for a few moments. The futon still held the warmth of sleep. The room was bathed in a soft luminosity, diffused through the rice paper walls of the sliding doors. No sharp shadows, only a gentle brightness. She inhaled slowly. The morning air was different from the evening air, fresher, clear, slightly humid. It carried the scent of wet earth and nighttime leaves. She rose to sit. Every movement was light, unhurried. Her body offered no resistance. Shoulders relaxed, mind quiet. She opened the sliding door. Outside, the garden was wrapped in a thin mist. Not a dense fog, but a light veil that made everything seem more distant, more quiet. The stones of the path barely emerged. The bushes seemed suspended. The stream continued to flow, but its sound was muffled, as if held back by the moist air. The traveller stepped onto the veranda. The wood was cool beneath her bare feet, not cold, but alive. She paused. In front of her, the forest was slowly awakening. A leaf fell, then another. A bird gave a short, almost hesitant call, like the first gesture of the day. After a few moments, a second sound responded from farther away. The light continued to grow, not from above, but from everywhere. It filtered through the mist, reflected on wet surfaces, spread among the branches without creating contrasts. It was a light that did not wake forcefully. It accompanied. The traveller sat near the edge of the veranda, hands resting on the wood, her gaze free to wander across the landscape. There was nothing to do, nothing to reach, only to observe the day being born. A member of the staff, silent like the house itself, placed a small tray beside her without interrupting the moment. A light ceramic teapot, a thin cup, a small bowl of freshly cut fruit arranged with precision. The gesture was almost imperceptible. The traveller poured the tea. Steam rose slowly into the cool morning air, dissolving immediately into the mist. She brought the cup to her lips. The taste was delicate, warm, clean. It did not overwhelm the senses. It opened them. She drank without hurry. Each sip seemed to align with the rhythm of the nature around her. The stream, the birds, the slow dissolving of the fog. As the minutes passed, the garden began to reveal itself. Forms became defined again. The stones regained substance. The leaves showed their deep green, still dotted with drops of water. A golden light appeared among the tallest trees. Not direct, filtered through the branches, it drew luminous stripes on the ground without breaking the harmony. The traveller breathed deeply. This place did not demand to be lived intensely. It demanded continuity, to remain, to listen, to let oneself be attuned. When the cup was empty, she placed it beside her. She did not rise immediately. She stayed a little longer, watching the fully present day, completely born, but still quiet, as if the world had not yet decided to accelerate. And in that perfect suspension between night and activity, between dream and movement, the morning took shape with the same grace with which it had arrived, without interrupting anything, only continuing. The morning light streamed through the large sliding glass panels, transforming the room into an ethereal space. Each ray seemed to caress the wooden surfaces, highlighting their natural grain, warm and gentle tones. The tatami reflected the soft light just enough, without dazzling. It was a gentle light, perfect for guiding the mind into a new phase of calm. The traveller rose from the futon without hurry. Each step toward the bath was deliberate, meditative. Her skin felt the freshness of the morning, the soft contact of her feet on the wood, the perfectly balanced temperature of the room. The villa's bath was a small private sanctuary. The light wood walls had been carefully smoothed, without sharp edges, welcoming to the touch. Above the floor, tiny water channels reflected the light, framing the ofuro bath that awaited her, filled with warm water scented with hinoki. Before entering, the traveller sat on the low stool, immersed in the silence of the room. She poured warm water over her hands, then her arms and shoulders, following an ancient gesture of purification. Each movement had a natural rhythm, almost hypnotic. The scent of warm wood mingled with the humidity in the air, creating an enveloping, almost protective effect. When she immersed herself in the bath, her body floated lightly. The warmth of the water penetrated her muscles, releasing every residual tension from the journey. The gentle sound of water flowing through the channels around the bath created a constant background, like a deep, steady breath. Before her, the private garden was now illuminated by full morning light. The thin mist was dissolving, revealing details previously hidden: the smooth stones of the path, the leaves still dripping with dew, the small stone lantern casting a discreet glow. Every element was part of a harmonious, balanced, and silent picture. Seated in the off-row, the traveller closed her eyes and inhaled deeply. Each breath became slower, deeper. The outside world faded into an indistinct background, leaving space only for the perception of her body, the water, the wood, the scent, and the light. She remained like this for a long time, savoring the feeling of suspension, of total calm. There was no need to think, no urgency to act, only being, complete and present. When she decided to leave the water, her skin immediately felt the contrast with the cooler air. Wrapped in a thick, soft towel, every muscle continued to relax, as if the residual warmth of the water had transferred to the air around her. She dressed in a light silk robe, which slid over her skin effortlessly, allowing her body to continue breathing freely. The delicate scent of the fabric mingled with that of the environment, creating a sensory continuity that enveloped her whole body. Returning to the main room, the traveller observed the garden now fully revealed. The sun filtered through the treetops, creating patterns of light and shadow in constant motion. The stream shimmered with silvery reflections. The bird song became clearer, yet still discreet, as an integral part of the controlled silence of the place. The day had begun, but no forced movement was necessary. Every gesture, from simply observing to taking the next step, was in perfect harmony with the natural rhythm of time. The traveller sat near the large glass panel, sipping a small cup of hot tea. The warmth spread slowly through her hands and body. Each sip opened a sensory window onto the outside world, the garden, the light, and the fresh air. The morning ritual was thus complete: a bath of light, a bath of water, and the absolute stillness that enveloped mind and body. She remained in silence, immersed in contemplation, while the villa itself seemed to breathe slowly with her. For the first time in many weeks, time had no defined boundaries. It was a continuous, gentle, soft flow, inviting the body to relax even more, and the mind to wander without fear or urgency. After the morning bath ritual, the traveller rose slowly, allowing her body to continue sensing the lingering warmth of the water and the lightness of her skin wrapped in silk. Her steps on the tatami wood were measured, almost dancing. Every movement seemed to follow the natural rhythm of the villa. She slid open the door and found herself back in the garden, now fully awake, bathed in the soft, clear light of the morning. The leaves sparkled with droplets of dew left from the night. Tree trunks cast delicate arched shadows, shifting slowly as the sun rose. The scent of damp earth, flowers, and aromatic herbs filled the air. The traveller walked along the path of polished stones. Each stone was smooth, cool under her bare feet, but never uncomfortable. The passage between rocks and small garden hills was designed to encourage slow, mindful, almost meditative movement. Along the path, small wooden bridges spanned channels of clear water. The sound of water flowing beneath them was continuous, gentle, like a natural musical backdrop. Every step, every breath synchronized with that subtle melody, creating a sense of total harmony. The traveller reached a small clearing where a low table had been set for lunch. It was not a formal meal, but a ritual of calm and lightness. On a tray of light wood were small portions of fresh fruit, thinly sliced vegetables, and freshly cooked whole grain rice. The bowls, made of artisan ceramics, reflected the light softly without drawing attention. Every element had been arranged with care, as if the placement itself were part of the meal. She sat on the tatami, legs crossed, and observed the garden around her. The wind barely stirred the branches of the tallest trees, creating a slow ripple of movement. Birds sang in the distance, their sound delicate, never intrusive. Every detail was perceptible without being overwhelming. The traveler began to eat slowly. Each bite was taken with attention. The natural flavors of the ingredients, never exaggerated, were perceived more vividly precisely because of the deliberate pace. The warm rice, the fragrance of fresh fruit, the gentle crunch of the vegetables, every flavor was a small invitation to remain present. Between bites, she lifted her gaze to the garden, watching the light filter through the branches, the shades of green, the subtle details of flowers and stones. Time seemed to pause, suspended between taste, silence, and sight. After finishing lunch, the traveller moved slowly toward a small area of the garden where a hammock had been hung between two trees. She lay down, allowing her body to settle into the soft fabric. A gentle breeze rocked the hammock softly, while the morning light caressed her face, shoulders, and arms. Every muscle found relief in the perfect support of the hammock. She closed her eyes, inhaled deeply, exhaled. Her breath aligned with the movement of the breeze, the sound of the water, the distant song of the birds. Her body and mind entered a state of complete stillness, effortlessly. She remained there for a long time, suspended between the interplay of light and shadow, between the breath of the forest and her own. Every sensation, every sound, every scent contributed to a perception of absolute peace. When the hammock slowly swung to one side, the traveller rose without haste. Every step back toward the villa was measured, as if the world itself adjusted to her presence. Returning inside, she sat near a window opening onto the garden. Another cup of hot tea awaited her, and she drank it slowly, savoring every sip, every fragrance. The meal, the rest, and the ritual of light had completed the morning, preparing body and mind for a new phase of calm and contemplation. After the slow walk through the garden and the silent lunch, the traveller made her way toward the room dedicated to massage. Each step was measured, almost meditative, as if the walk itself were part of the ritual. The room was spacious and luminous, yet it retained a sense of intimacy. The light wood walls were perfectly smooth and reflected the diffuse glow of the rice paper lamps. A subtle aroma of essential oils filled the air, lavender, ylang ylang, and a hint of sandalwood, blended with a delicacy designed to awaken the senses without overwhelming them. On the floor, rugs of natural fibers offered a warm, soft support, inviting the feet to feel every detail beneath them. At the center of the room, the massage table was already prepared. The white sheet, impeccably spread, carried a faint scent of clean cotton and linen. On top, a small bowl of warm water with floating lotus flowers offered a visual and sensory prelude to the treatment. Every object was placed with care, as if the room itself were alive, ready to welcome and nurture anyone who entered. The traveller sat for a moment on the edge of the table, inhaling deeply. Her body already felt the calming effect of the environment, the perfect temperature, the subtle fragrance, the soft light, the absolute peace that permeated every corner of the room. She closed her eyes and let the scented air fill her lungs slowly, stabilizing her breathing and preparing every muscle to relax. When the masseuse entered, there was no disturbance. Their presence was discreet, almost an extension of the room itself. Every gesture, from placing the oils to arranging the towels, was measured and harmonious. The noise was minimal, only a gentle rustle, a whisper of movement blending with the soft background music. The traveller lay down on the table. The contact with the cool, slightly warm linen immediately created a sense of protection and comfort. Her body adapted to the perfect support of the table, releasing any residual tension. The massage began with slow, deep movements. Each pressure on the muscles was calibrated, precise, designed to stimulate circulation and dissolve tension knots without causing pain. The masseuse's hands moved as if part of a continuous flow, alternating pressures, caresses, gentle kneading, and steady rhythms. The scented oils were applied in sequence, one after the other, creating overlapping sensory layers, the warmth on the skin, the scent spreading, the physical touch, and the gentle background music. Every element contributed to a fully immersive, complete, total experience. The traveler inhaled and exhaled deeply, each breath synchronized with the rhythm of the massage, with the soft sound of the music, with the flow of light entering through the window. The outside world seemed to disappear. Nothing existed except her body, her sense of touch, smell, hearing, and her calm mind. The masseuse moved to work on her shoulders and back. The pressure increased slightly, melting deep tensions accumulated during her journey. Every movement was delicate, calibrated to be felt without discomfort. The traveler's breathing became steadier, slower, almost like an inner song. Then the hands moved along her arms and legs, following every natural curve of the body, tracing invisible lines of energy. Every area of the body received attention, as if nothing were overlooked. The massage was not just a physical treatment, but a true wellness ritual designed to restore balance and harmony. When the massage came to an end, the traveler remained lying for a few moments. She did not move. Her body was completely relaxed. Every muscle, every fiber, every breath was in perfect harmony with the rhythm of the environment. The scent of the oils and the still light music completed the sensation of suspension and peace. She rose slowly, feeling the soft rustle of the fabrics and the warmth of the room. Each step toward the veranda was a gentle, natural gesture. The garden appeared brighter, more alive, yet still silent and contemplative. She sat on a small cushion near the edge of the path, watching the sun rise through the trees as the forest fully awakened. The stream glittered with golden reflections. The leaves seemed to breathe slowly, and the traveler felt the continuity of that rhythm, absorbing it gradually with every breath. In that moment, her body felt light, her mind silent, and the awareness of complete inner peace created a sensation of infinity. There was no rush, no urgency, only the flowing present,